To prevent me from skimping on meals after starting school, my mom loaded my meal card with 100,000 yuan in one go. But when the scholarship student saw the fruits and snacks I shared with our roommates, she suddenly got upset. "You're so extravagant. Clearly not someone who knows how to live frugally. My mom would disapprove of someone like you the most." I found it baffling, so I showed her my meal card statement. "These fruits and snacks aren't expensive. And besides, it's my money. I have the right to spend it as I please." Unexpectedly, the scholarship student exploded, pointing at my 73 yuan dinner charge and shouting, "How dare a student eat such an expensive meal? Aren't you afraid it'll shorten your life? Every extra penny you spend now means my brother will have to work harder to marry you someday. Someone as high maintenance as you would be too much for my family to afford." Her words gave me goosebumps all over. So I immediately went to our academic advisor and requested a room change. Little did I know she held a grudge. Not long after, she brought her whole family to abduct me by force, tying me up and dragging me back to the gulch to be her brother's wife. And in the midst of her brother's relentless domestic abuse, day and night, I was beaten to death in the pig pen. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day Jasmine Su accused me of squandering money. I stood frozen, still holding the fruits and snacks. The stinking pig pen before me vanished, and my legs weren't broken by Chase Su. Seeing the dorm room still filled with laughter and chatter, my eyes instantly welled up. I had actually been reborn. Reborn on the very day I brought fruits and snacks as welcome gifts for my roommates, recalling the nightmare I endured in my past life. A wave of sorrow choked me up. The next second, before Jasmine Su returned, I quickly hid the fruits and snacks in my suitcase, swearing never to have anything to do with that crazy woman again. But just as I was about to get up and ask the academic advisor to change dorms, I was caught red, handed by Jasmine Su walking straight toward me. She glared at me gloomily, furrowing her brow impatiently. "What did you buy this time?" I clenched the hem of my shirt, quickly averting my gaze. "And nothing. I didn't buy anything." Little did I expect her to suddenly snatch my phone and press my finger to unlock it. I gasped in shock at my bill details. "This expensive? What kind of cake costs over $100? You spent over 20 on a cup of mixed juice." She shot me a disbelieving glance. "And honestly, is it really that easy to make money off you pampered young wives? Do you really think my brother's future earnings will just fall from the sky?" Her words reminded me of my past life suffering. In my previous life, I was abducted by their family to the gulch, never spending a single cent of theirs. Instead, I was forced by her so-called hardworking brother to sell my body to support the family. I once told him I had money, lots and lots of it. If they'd just let me go, I'd ensure they lived a life free from want. But after extorting ransom from my mother, they locked me in a pig pen, reeking of filth. Jasmine Su's mother couldn't help but sneer. "Money runs out someday, but as long as we have you, the goose that lays golden eggs, we'll never want for anything. We would never do something as foolish as killing the goose that lays the golden eggs." They used the ransom money to renovate their old house and began living a life of luxury that was the envy of the locals. Yet, all I did was say I was hungry, and Chase Su beat me until my face was swollen like a pig's head. Hungry, hungry, hungry. Is that all you ever think about? Didn't you just have an egg yesterday morning? Lazy, good, for nothing wretch. That very night, he grabbed the hoe he used for work and beat me to death in that cold, rainy darkness. At this memory, I could no longer contain the fury in my heart and snatched my phone back. I shot Jasmine Su a venomous glare. "It's my money, and I'll spend it however I want. Who are you to tell me what to do?" With that, I turned and walked straight to the academic advisor's office without looking back. Since there's no avoiding it, let's see just who deserves to burn in the 18th layer of hell in this lifetime. Just like in my past life, the academic advisor didn't give me much trouble over my request to change dorm rooms. My application was quickly approved, and I was transferred to the room next door. But just as I returned to the dorm to pack my things, Jasmine Su was sobbing uncontrollably in front of the other roommates. Soon, The other roommates cast complicated glances my way. Xia, I know, as outsiders, some matters aren't our business to meddle in, but you shouldn't stoop so low as to become a gold digger, should you? I heard from Jasmine that you're already engaged to her brother. The money on your meal card was topped up by him too, wasn't it? Hearing their baseless accusations, I was suddenly stunned. I never imagined Jasmine Sue could be so shameless. How could she even fabricate such lies? Before I could open my mouth to defend myself, Jasmine wiped her tears and said, "Don't let me ruin your roommate relationships. I just feel sorry for my brother. He works so hard, all for the sake of building a stable future and home." Her words made the sympathetic roommates instantly glare at me with cold eyes. Having a gold digger as a roommate is such bad luck. I couldn't help but marvel at how right I was to request a room change. Otherwise, I truly wouldn't know how to coexist for 4 years with a roommate who believes every rumor she hears. Pulling out the suitcase from under the bed, I couldn't bear to stay another moment. Yet when Jasmine Sue asked, "Sis, in law, where are you going?" I still turned around and snapped back. I never got engaged to her brother. I don't even know who her brother is. And another thing, I'm spending the New Year's money I've saved up over the years. That statement made everyone instantly fall silent, turning to look at Jasmine Sue in disbelief. Their stares made her visibly uncomfortable, and, with reddened eyes, she went to tidy her bed. The atmosphere in the new dorm was much better. After hearing that I was the new roommate transferred by the academic advisor, they all eagerly introduced themselves and warmly invited me to join them for a meal. It was then that I noticed the large table in the room was already covered with takeout boxes. So I proactively took out the fruits and snacks I'd hidden in my luggage to share. But just as we were chatting animatedly while eating takeout, a sudden remark cut through the air. "Sis, in law, aren't you afraid of gaining weight eating so much? My brother doesn't like girls who are too heavy." It nearly made me jump from my seat. Turning around, I saw Jasmine Sue appearing out of nowhere like a ghost. This time, she made me laugh in sheer exasperation. I retorted bluntly on the spot, "None of your damn business." The other roommates began asking about Jasmine Sue's identity, but Jasmine Sue paid them no mind. She stepped forward, glanced at the takeout on the table, and pointed a finger at me, saying, "Sis, in law, I came to apologize to you, but I only mean well for you. After all, the New Year's pig we raise at home already eats enough as it is." Her repeated use of "sis" in law piqued the roommates' curiosity for gossip. Before they could speak up, I quickly clarified, "Jasmine Sue, I know your brother is older and can't find a partner, but you can't just call anyone your sis. In law, can you? Also, I manage my figure by going to the gym in my spare time. No need for you to worry about that either." Jasmine Sue looked up in disbelief. "What? Spend money on eating and drinking, then spend more to lose weight? That's no way to use your money. If you really need to slim down, just come do farm work at my place. It'll work just as well." But the dorm leader shot back, "It's her own money. How she spends it is none of your business." The other roommates chimed in one after another. "Exactly. If you're so fond of minding other people's business, why don't you go to Les Han and replace the giant Buddha yourself? Xia already said she has nothing to do with your brother. Stop calling her sis. In law, how do you still have the nerve to stay here? You're not welcome in our dorm. You've got the wrong place. The trash can is in the bathroom." Perhaps she hadn't expected her goodwill to be met with such a reaction. Jasmine Sue's eyes were filled with disbelief. Before everyone could rise to shoo her out, she shot me a glare and said, "Sis, in law, I never thought you were this kind of person." Not only did she feel perfectly justified spending my brother's money, but she also strung him along like he was her sugar daddy. In that case, I have nothing left to hold back. I have proof that she is my sis. In law, as she spoke, she took out in front of everyone a photograph. Though the photo was creased from being hidden away and bore the marks of time, the woman standing beside my brother indeed had a face identical to mine. Looking at their radiant smiles in the photo and the unfamiliar setting behind them, I was utterly bewildered. I was certain that today was my first time meeting Jasmine Sue. Even if the photo was artificially aged or photoshopped, she would still need to know who I am. Such a bizarre scene made me almost wonder if my father had some secret daughter out there. I was so shocked that I couldn't snap out of it for a long time. Then, Jasmine Sue's icy voice rang in my ears. "What? Cat got your tongue?" Seeing her so smug and confident, I felt a lump in my throat. Even so, our dorm head Claire Joe didn't take her word for it. Instead, she turned to another roommate. "Sherry, you study graphic design. Can you check if this photo has any signs of Photoshop?" The senior called Sherry immediately picked up the photo. She stared at it for a long time, but couldn't make heads or tails of it. Finally, she scratched her head with an awkward laugh. "Ha, I skipped too many classes. Can't really tell. But no worries, I know a senior who's a pro at this. I'll snap a pic and ask him." Soon, however, a reply came that shocked everyone. The photo is real, no signs of editing. At the same time, Jasmine Sue flashed a triumphant smile. "So, what do you say now? Still claiming you're not my sis. In law, how do you explain this photo?" I truly had no explanation, because the person in that photo couldn't possibly be me, even in my past life. I'd never seen the woman in that picture. Seeing that I remained motionless for a long time, Jasmine Sue glanced at my roommates and spoke disdainfully. "Now you see what kind of person your new roommate is, don't you?" But the response she got was Claire Joe's icy retort. "Please leave. Our dorm room is not welcome to you." Hearing this, Jasmine Sue's face stiffened, and she immediately stormed off, muttering, "How ungrateful. Offending someone like me, you'll regret this sooner or later." In the following days, my roommates all tacitly avoided mentioning the incident. They still invited me to meals and gossip, as usual. Jasmine Sue never came looking for me again. I thought this farce was over, and that a brand new campus life awaited me. But one afternoon, when all my roommates had been asked out by their boyfriends, and I was heading to the cafeteria alone, I encountered an old lady peering around suspiciously on the path I had to take. After clearly seeing the woman's face, I quickly turned around, ready to flee. Yet I was still spotted by Jasmine Sue's mother, who rushed forward and grabbed my wrist. She looked me up and down, then fixed her gaze on my butt, pursed her lips, and shook her head. "TSK, so skinny. Who knows if you'll even be able to give me a grandson someday." I glared coldly at her. "Let go. I don't know you." The old lady suddenly pinched my butt hard. "You ill-mannered brat. Is that any way to speak to your mother? In law, you may not know me, but I know you. You're called Summer Jong, right? Just hearing the name tells me you're hard to raise. I think you should change your name to Phoenix Jong from now on." I was utterly incredulous. Earlier, I had thought they mistook me for the woman in the photo, but since she could say my name so precisely, it meant there was no mistake. What on earth is going on? The tangled thoughts made my brain momentarily shut down. I immediately shook off her hand, wishing I could sprout 8 legs to flee this wretched place as fast as possible. Unexpectedly, the old lady cut straight to the chase. "Jasmine told me you're a money, burning good, for nothing. But what can I do? My son insists on choosing you. So, let me be blunt with you. If you want to marry my son, your dowry must include at least a car. My son has loved cars since childhood. It can't cost less than 500,000 yuan. I've also looked at a house, a small Western-style villa in our county town. It has at least 6 rooms, so Jasmine won't have to share a bed with her brother anymore. I heard there's a discount. You can get it for 7 million yuan in full payment." As she rambled on in my ear, I was instantly reminded of the horrors from my past life. I quickly shouted for help toward the school security guards, but the guards are blocked by Jasmine Sue. Then, she pulled out her phone and played a video. In the video, under the old locust tree at their village entrance, I was wearing a pure white wedding dress, kneeling on one knee before Chase Sue. With a pitiful expression, I begged Chase Sue to marry me. Eventually, after my incessant crying and pleading, Chase Sue agreed to my proposal, and that ecstatic woman looked and sounded exactly like me. Even when spouting those cheesy romantic lines to chase Sue, she used my name, almost like when they abducted me in my past life. She dispelled the security guard's doubts with just a few words. She walked smiling toward the old lady. "Mom, how is it? Do I meet your approval?" The old lady shook her head, sucking her teeth. "Just average." Chase Sue, having heard the news, drove up in his van again. Seeing that I was about to fall back into the hell of my past life, I quickly pulled out my phone and called the police. But Chase Sue, rushing over, snatched my phone and smashed it under his foot right in front of me. Watching Jasmine Sue laugh uncontrollably, she shot me a smug, triumphant glance. "How about that? Thought having money made you superior? Why don't you get on your knees and beg me now? Maybe if I'm feeling generous, I'll even throw you an extra scrap of food." Despair wrapped around me like a shroud. It felt as though a thick fog had settled permanently before my eyes. But just as they were dragging me toward the van parked at the entrance, my eyes suddenly sharpened, and everything clicked into place. I think I finally understood what was really going on. The next second, I quickly raised my voice and shouted at the mother and son in front of me. The pair froze instantly, gritting their teeth before Chase Sue slapped Jasmine Sue across the face. "Jasmine Sue, is that any way to talk to your classmate? Is this how your mother and I raised you?" Jasmine Sue was stunned by Chase Sue's blow. Soon, a trickle of blood seeped from the corner of her mouth. But Chase Sue wasn't satisfied. He grabbed her hair and struck her face again. Instantly, her nose burst, blood spraying everywhere. Seeing her being beaten until she wailed and cried, the old lady also turned her gaze toward me. "Do you really have a way to make Jiaoju marry your brother?" Given the critical situation, I had no choice but to use my brother, who's overseas, as a shield. I hope that after learning about this, he'll take pity on his little sister and not accidentally have me killed. Thinking of this, I nodded. As you know, although my family is wealthy, as a woman, I can't inherit the family business. But my brother is different. Not only is he more capable than me, but he's also built his own empire from scratch and is now the CEO of a listed company. He's definitely going to be the one in charge of the family in the future. Hearing this, the old lady's eyes lit up, and she immediately glared at Chase Sue. Beat her hard. She nearly cost our family a chance to rise to greatness. And she still dares to call herself the main female lead who holds the script? I think she's nothing but a jinx. Hearing the term main female lead made my expression freeze as well. Just moments ago, I had considered that Jasmine Sue might have superpowers, or even wondered if she was some kind of alien. But I never imagined reality would be even more absurd. She's actually a transmigrator backed by the system. No wonder she could effortlessly produce evidence to deceive everyone. I'm eager to see how she plans to thrive all on her own after being reborn into such a soul-sucking family. When I turned back, Jasmine Sue was already beaten half to death by Chase Sue. The old lady pressed again with her earlier question. Hearing it, I immediately nodded with certainty. Of course, my parents usually dote on me the most. Who they want to bring into the family is pretty much just up to my say. So, isn't it? But I glanced somewhat awkwardly at Jasmine Sue. As you know, elite families value ability over looks. Jasmine is just too beautiful. I'm afraid she might be seen as just a trophy. And if rumors start spreading, it could affect my family's market value. These words jolted the newly awakened Jasmine Sue into exclaiming, "Bullshit. Mom, brother, don't believe her. She's just spouting nonsense. I'm the one who knows how the plot unfolds. Just listen to me, tie her up, and we'll have endless wealth from now on. If she hadn't accidentally died in our past life, how could I have?" Only then did I realize that Jasmine Sue, like me, had been reborn, but in the face of her helpless rage, I covered my mouth with feigned concern. "Jasmine, kidnapping is a crime. Are you truly helping them, or leading them to ruin?" These words made Chase Sue furrow his brow again as he stepped toward Jasmine. "Even now, you dare spout such nonsense?" I actually think Miss Jiang has a point. Instead of focusing on appearances, better ponder how to truly deserve the role of a wealthy socialite. As he spoke, He grabbed a handful of mud and smeared it on Jasmine Sue's face. From now on, no cosmetics are allowed. Did you really think my money grows on trees? Covered in foul, smelling mud, Jasmine Sue completely broke down. After all, despite her humble origins, she cared more about her appearance than anyone. And in my past life, all the money I earned by selling myself was spent on her cosmetics. Watching her break down and lose control, I finally breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, my gamble paid off this time. Past experiences made me realize she never actually liked me. In fact, she utterly despised me. Her sole purpose in forcibly taking me away was to squeeze every last drop of value out of me. Now, I've returned every bit of it right back to Jasmine Sue. It's time for me to personally send this entire family straight to hell, together. That day, even though I had temporarily averted the immediate crisis. But Jasmine Sue's family still took me away with lingering concern. We arrived at the familiar gulch, yet they didn't treat me harshly as they used to. Instead, they treated me like the god of wealth himself. Hiv, you'll stay with us until Jasmine and your brother are engaged. Though we're poor, we won't treat you poorly. Seeing the roasted chicken on the table, a dish the family only had during New Year, I unceremoniously grabbed a drumstick and dug in. Jasmine immediately shot me a venomous glare. Her fingers clenched audibly. After meeting my gaze, she covertly whined to the old lady, "Mom, I'm hungry." Little did she expect Chase Sue to slap her hand off the old woman's shoulder. "Have you perfected the posture I taught you? How many times must I say it? A lady from a wealthy family moves with grace. Now look at you. You can't even stand or sit properly. And you still have the nerve to say you're hungry? Get back and practice now." Over the next few days, Jasmine Sue was forced by Chase Sue to learn many things. Even the number of chews required before swallowing food was meticulously regulated. I couldn't help but think, what's the point of living like this? So, on yet another night, when Chase Sue beat her brutally, Jasmine Sue hanged herself. Fortunately, I discovered her in time, and the old lady managed to save her with great effort. When she opened her eyes again, Jasmine Sue was overjoyed, laughing and shouting, "Thank goodness, I've been reborn again." But meeting Chase Sue's venomous gaze, the light instantly vanished from her eyes. Her eyes pleaded with me desperately, yet she was still dragged into the pig pen by Chase Sue like a dead dog, daring to spout nonsense. "You're truly beyond saving." Amidst a chorus of wretched howls, Chase Sue broke yet another stick over his son. A week later, Jasmine Sue, now thoroughly reformed by Chase Sue's rod, stood before me once more, observing her polished demeanor and the picture, perfect smile, gracing her face. I nodded in satisfaction. Not bad at all. Now she truly embodies the dignity befitting Mrs. Jiang, the mother. Son pair wept tears of joy. Wonderful. All my son's days of painstaking effort have not been in vain. Chase Sue beamed ear to ear. Does this mean I'll have the money to marry Widow Lee from the next village? At the mention of Widow Lee, I could scarcely believe my ears. In my past life, upon hearing of Chase Sue's marriage, Widow Lee had died heartbroken. It was from that point onward that Chase Sue began his violent outbursts against me. So it all traced back to this. Yet, what truly stunned me was that before I could even instruct them to contact my brother, Widow Lee suddenly showed up at my door, pointing her finger at me and shouting, "You despicable scoundrel who deserves to be cut into 1,000 pieces. How dare you send someone to steal my Chase away?" Send someone. In an instant, it was as if all her strength had been drained from her. She plopped down onto the ground, bursting into uncontrollable sobs. Chase Sue was horrified by what he heard and immediately pressed her for details about what had happened. Meanwhile, Jasmine Sue tilted her head toward me, a barely noticeable smirk playing at the corner of her lips. Encouraged by Chase Sue's concern, Widow Lee cried even more intensely. Soon, Chase Sue noticed the bloodstains on her pants. Clenching his pale fingers, he urged, "Luna, please don't cry. Tell Brother Sue what really happened. You're bleeding so much." But Luna Lee put on an expression of enduring humiliation with fortitude. She looked up at Chase Sue, shaking her head repeatedly. Brother Sue, perhaps this is just my fate. I'm afraid I can never be with you in this lifetime. With tear-filled eyes, she looked at me, her voice trembling as she said, I'm tainted, no longer worthy of you. But I didn't want this to happen either. Last night, so many people suddenly broke into my home, and without a word, they just, she suddenly threw herself into Chase Sue's arms, wailing helplessly, Brother Sue, I'm tainted. These words made Chase Sue tremble all over, veins bulging on his forehead as he glared at me. Summer Jiang, I thought you were the benefactor here to save our family. But now, what in the world have you done to Yuehua? Rage clouded Chase Sue's mind. Even when the old lady rushed to stop him, he shoved her aside without a care, sitting on the ground, slapping her thigh, and crying, Qinggang, don't be reckless. Xia is our family's money god. Whether we can turn our lives around in this lifetime depends entirely on her. But Chase Sue coldly retorted, what the hell kind of bullshit god of wealth is that? If anyone dares to lay a hand on my Luna, even if they were the damn Jade Emperor, they'd have to die. Watching Luna, Lee cast a faint smile toward Jasmine Sue. It didn't take a genius to figure out whose handiwork this was. So I quickly exclaimed, Brother, in law, don't act rashly. I swear I had nothing to do with this. Even if you won't think of Jasmine, what about the villa you were going to give to Sister Luna? And what about the 5 million betrothal gift? Since things have already come to this, shouldn't we focus on compensating Sister Luna as much as possible? Believe me, this truly has nothing to do with me. Hearing this, Luna Lee instantly stopped crying, widening her eyes at Chase Sue. What villa? What betrothal gift? Why don't I know anything about this? Brother Chase, don't be so quick to act. But Chase Sue seemed to have seen through something. He grabbed a sickle used for cutting pig feed and slowly walked toward me. Do you think everything can be fixed with your filthy money? Luna, don't try to stop me. I know exactly what I'm doing. I promise to protect you for a lifetime. If anyone dares lay a finger on you, I'll make them pay with their life. At that point, I finally reached out to Luna, Lee in despair. Sister Luna, save me. Chase Sue snorted with a cold laugh. Only now you're scared? Too late. Even if you kneel before Luna now, it won't save. However, before he could finish, he froze in disbelief. He reached behind his head and felt his hand come away covered in blood. When he turned around, Luna Lee was trembling, holding a hoe. Meeting his complicated gaze, she shrank back and muttered softly, Brother Sue, you should have let me finish. Before he could react, the old lady swung a rock at him. Sobbing and murmuring, she said, Chase, don't hate your mother. Mother just didn't want you to make a mistake you'd regret forever. You've gone too far. The next second, he completely lost consciousness. Jasmine Sue watched in shock, her eyes filled with confusion. How could this happen? But the old lady and Luna Lee both shot her a glare. You shameless thing. We'll deal with you later. By the time the family rushed to the hospital in their van, Chase Sue had already missed the critical window for treatment and become a vegetable. The hallway echoed with the cries of the old lady and Luna Lee. I quickly spoke up to comfort them. The doctor only said the chances of waking up are slim, not that Chase will never recover. Don't worry, medical technology is so advanced now, Chase will surely be fine. Besides, my family has plenty of money to afford the best treatments for him. But Jasmine Sue sneered, what good is all that money now? Those words of yours can only fool these uneducated old ladies. For heaven's sake, can't you use your brains? I really don't know why an independent main female lead like me should have such disgraceful family members. The next second, a resounding slap landed on her face. The old lady gritted her teeth viciously. What do you mean by that? You ungrateful wretch. Are you just wishing your brother would never wake up? Luna Lee also went mad, clawing at her hair. Jasmine Sue, why didn't you tell me that Brother Sue was planning to marry me, and that your family was about to become incredibly wealthy? You even made me frame Xia, causing Brother Sue to become a vegetable. I'll kill you. That day, if I hadn't stopped these two women in time, Jasmine Sue might have died right there in the hospital. Thanks to my reminder, The old lady finally allowed me to use the phone, yet he still didn't forget to warn me with a venomous look. Don't try any tricks. After hearing this, I nodded, took the phone, and sent a photo of Jasmine Sue, the fiancée I personally chose for you. Immediately after, I attached a sticker I had never sent before. This was the signal we had agreed upon long ago. When I was 13, I experienced a kidnapping. My brother risked half his life to save me, and when I visited him in the hospital, he cried his eyes out. That's how this sticker came to be. He told me that if I were ever in danger, I should send this sticker to him. In my past life, I did the same thing, but this village was just too remote, and by the time my brother arrived with help, I had long been chopped to pieces by a family and fed to the pigs. This time, it's their turn to taste the bitterness of hell. Soon, I received my brother's reply. She's very beautiful. I'm quite satisfied. Hearing the words Luna, Lee read aloud. The old lady snatched the phone away in ecstasy. From now on, you'll stay and take care of my son. Don't worry, you're a benefactor of the Sue family. We'll treat you well. Even Luna Lee said she wouldn't mind having one more person by Chase Sue's side. Their treacherous betrayal looked exactly the same as when they took the ransom in my past life. Truly, they never learn. Soon, Jasmine Sue and my brother's wedding was put on the schedule, and I was locked inside the vegetable cellar at home. On the wedding day, the old lady and Luna Lee attended in formal attire as Jasmine Sue's family. When Jasmine, in her pristine white wedding dress, saw my brother in his sharp suit, she froze for a moment. The next second, her eyes reddened instantly. If I'd known Summer Jong had such a handsome brother, why did I even bother with all this trouble? After hearing her brother was in his 30s and still unmarried, I'd assumed he was some greasy old man. Doesn't that make him a perfect match for me, the main female lead? After a brief moment of repentance, she smiled and walked toward my brother, her demeanor graceful and poised. Hello, my husband whom I've never met. I am your future wife, Jasmine Sue. Meeting her smiling gaze, my brother also chuckled softly and said, Then, I'll ask for your guidance in the future. MS. Sue. At this moment, his gentle face was filled with restraint and self-control. In front of all the guests present, he announced Jasmine Sue's identity at the century wedding. Listening to the endless stream of congratulations, Jasmine Sue's face flushed red. She quickly signaled the flower girl, wanting to exchange rings, but my brother gently pressed her shoulder and said, No rush. There's still a surprise for you. As astonishment filled Jasmine Sue's eyes, countless helicopters flew over the venue, showering it with a sea of flowers. And under Jasmine Sue's gaze, the fireworks worth millions exploded into a dazzling display of neon colors. Watching Jasmine Sue, who was completely immersed in the fairy tale, my brother instinctively checked the time, his eyes filled with irritation as he furrowed his brows tightly. Only after the entire fireworks display ended and the flower girls took the stage did he casually kneel before Jasmine Sue. It was at this moment that he finally received the signal he had been waiting for. Under Jasmine Sue's tearful gaze, he looked toward his executive assistant in the audience. Then, turning to Jasmine Sue with deep affection, he said, Jasmine, will you be my wife? The next second, Jasmine Sue hurriedly opened her mouth. But before any sound could escape, the large screen behind them erupted with soft, passionate moans. The sound drained all color from Jasmine Sue's face in an instant. By the time a group of bodyguards escorted me into the car, I was already reading the news reports on my phone. That day, due to the exposure of Jasmine Sue's chaotic private life, the entire wedding ended as a farce. At that moment, they were just one step away from transforming their family's fortunes and rising to greatness. Jasmine Sue was taken away by the old lady and Luna Lee. Soon after, the only son, whom the old lady had cherished above all, breathed his last in the hospital. I thoughtfully reported Jasmine Sue's disappearance to the police, but the gulch where they were hiding was so remote that by the time the police arrived, she had already been dismembered and fed to the pigs by the two. Still, the police managed to find some clues at the scene. They launched a manhunt for the old lady and Luna Lee. When they found the old lady, she had already hanged herself from a crooked tree outside the village. Her death was gruesome, her eyes filled with deep resentment, as if she was remorseful for having caused her own son's death. As for Luna Lee, she was quickly captured by the police during her escape. She was prosecuted and executed by firing squad. After finishing this account, my brother suddenly put down the newspaper he had specially bought and sneered at me. Now that we've settled all that, isn't it time to settle our own score? I was terrified by his low pressure and turned to flee, but he pulled me into his embrace. His voice trembled intensely. Xia Xia, don't be afraid. I'll protect you for a lifetime. Then, pointing at the scrape on my hand, she asked, does it hurt? I had seen such a worried expression 6 years ago, so I shook my head calmly. It doesn't hurt. Everything had already become the past. After the gloom passed, sunlight instantly streamed in.